Hello, welcome, Power Partners. Welcome to our informational barnyard playground. This is Starstyle, Be the Star You Are. We're coming to the airwaves under the auspices of Be the Star You Are charity, and we are broadcasting on Voice America Media. This is the Empowerment Channel. I am your host, Cynthia Brian, for this show. And in today's show, we're going to be discussing a couple of things. It's winter, although here in Northern California, it has been absolutely glorious. The last month and a few days, we haven't had any rain or anything, but I think it's a good time to talk about home upgrades and keeping warm during the winter because I know throughout the world and in many parts of the United States, we've been having, freeze overs and it's really cold. But probably most homes or apartments, whatever, can use a little upgrade, big or small. So it pays to maintain your house as your castle, keep it in tip-top shape. And that's what I'll be talking about in the several things you can do in segment one to elevate your home so that it looks fabulous and represents you and the way you want to live. And then in segment two, it is cold outside in most areas of the United States. So, how can you stay warm, still pay your bills because that electricity and gas is pretty high? Cranking up that heater is costly, but I'm going to try to keep you cozy all winter with just a few simple solutions. The miracle moment for today, brought to you by Be the Star You Are charity. You can find out more at bethestaryouare.org, is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Most of the shadows of this life are caused by our standing in our own sunshine. Well, as I'm doing this radio, the sun is shining brightly through my office window, and I'm loving it. It's so great to be in February and to be having this lovely sunshine at the moment. I really am enjoying it. So I'm going to start off the segment by talking about how we can upgrade our homes, apartments, or let's just say our living spaces in just a few steps so that we can feel like our place perfectly represents ourselves and our family and whoever lives there, from the inside out. The first thing I want to recommend is a deep cleaning. I know spring is coming, and for a lot of people, I know I am one of those. I get this itch to like go deep, clean every little nook and cranny, but it is really the ultimate refresh. So, if you're not like me and you like to get down there with a toothbrush and get out the grime, you might consider enlisting the cleaning services of a professional to restore your place like new quality. And there are all kinds of experts that you can hire to tackle specific jobs, like if you want pressure washing or, cleaning your siding or your patios or even your drain spouts, washing your windows. There are handy people out there. And if you live in Texas, Chicago, California, I don't know. There's a couple other places. I have a really good handyman service that is offering a big discount. So you can shoot me an email and I'll give you that link with a special code so you can get your discount. My email, just you can send it to Cynthia at cynthiabrian.com, Brian with an I. The next thing is refinish any surfaces. If you find that your spaces might be etched in some way, maybe you have marble or scratched hardwood or cracked tile or grout. It's really important to invest in refinishing these valuable materials and you can restore their original luster and it ensures their longevity. I know that I have some really cool, very old, like almost, I think they're probably 50, 60-year-old benches that I got vintage like, and they're made out of a concrete cement, but I've noticed that in winter they've cracked. And so I was just able to put a caulking in them that in the same color and it restored them and it keeps them together. So there's just little things like that that don't cost very much, but that you can get your your vintage pieces or your antiques or just your regular things by doing little things. And sometimes that's why it is good to hire a person, a handy person that knows what they're doing. Now, if you have an heirloom or maybe even a thrift shop treasure, I mean, I used to just love thrift shops, especially when I was first decorating my home. I used to call it old basement, early attic. But if you just use a touch of paint or maybe a rich wood finish, add some modern hardware, and then position these treasures somewhere that will claim the limelight. You can also, if you have photos or an art piece, and especially if you have children, maybe you have some children's art. If you have a lot of children's art, you may not value it now, but you may value it once they're older. So think about framing it and putting it in a position in a place that it would deserve. Feature it, something that you'll see every day. It'll really make you feel happy. One thing that really, really can augment a home is lighting. Now, I do love just overhead lighting just for, basic lighting. But if you really want to bring some ambiance into your room, use some table lamps or tall floor lamps, sconces. Lighting can really, really make a difference. And it can be very inexpensive to do. Showcase your dishware. If you have inherited your grandmother's china, or if you have good pieces of some kind of dishware, maybe it's hidden in a cabinet. And especially years ago when people got engaged or got married, giving dishware or what we called silverware, because it was usually some part of silver, or glassware was considered a keepsake, not a cheapsake, a keepsake gift. But and these days people don't, they're using paper plates or whatever. But why don't you bring out the good dishware and add some flowers to the table, and you'll probably have a more interesting meal. Give yourself a little bit of panache. Now, for the front of your door, maybe get a new doormat. I mean, that is the entrance to your castle. And you want really to welcome people and including welcoming yourself. It's get a charming mat. You could go with a sophisticated option or you could pick something that's quirky, but when it's new and clean, it really looks pretty great. And when we're talking about mats, another thing I really like are area rugs, especially if you have hardwood floors or if you have laminate floors or you have just ugly floors. There's nothing better than a gorgeous, cozy rug that you can just throw out. It really can make a space more welcoming. You can put rugs in your living room, bedrooms, dining areas, and it will help you pull together colors and styles. And rugs really do make an impact. So consider doing that. Now, the other thing when I think about rugs, I think about throw pillows. If you don't have a lot of money and you just want to upscale your look, you can either, if you're like me, I sew, so I make all my own throw pillows. But you could just buy some inexpensive throw pillows that have muted hues or plush fabrics or some eye-catching prints, and then put them out, and you might be able to switch them out. I like to have pillows that have zippers on it so that I can either change out the coverings, in other words, switch. I have different patterns and I can still use the same stuffing, or you can wash them if you need, things just to spruce it up a little bit. Now, what about your shower or your bath? That is something that's usually important to people. So treat yourself to like a really yummy bath soak, and maybe a good shampoo and something that's aromatic with some self-care concoctions. And you might have get some containers to enhance the luxury factor. That little small step will set you up to rejuvenate yourself completely. And it really makes a great start or a great end to every day. I really enjoy, especially in winter, taking a bath with Epsom salts. And I like a little bit of bubbles and lighting candles and having some incense and just, relaxing for a bit. My husband doesn't like the bubble bath, but he likes the rest of it. Now, fragrance is another way to add some, some to elevate, I guess, to elevate your room. Now, I'm saying beyond the bathroom. A smell can really revamp an entire house. So it is very, very comforting. You can use wax melters, candles, aroma diffusers, and it gives instant impact. And when guests come, there's just nothing better than, I think, like when you go to a spa, you walk in and it smells so good, you immediately feel relaxed. Well, that's what you want to create for yourself, not just for guests, but for yourself in your own home. The other thing that can also smell good is if you are cooking something that is really nice. I mean, I always love the smell of fresh baked cookies or apples or anything that has cinnamon in it. And then, of course, being the gardener that I am, flowers play a really big, big place in my life. I always have fresh bouquets because I think they add a touch of not only vibrant color and life to any space, but again, if you have flowers that are fragrant, like right now, the narcissi are blooming. I have my whole hillside is filled with them. They smell so great. And you just put a bouquet anywhere in your entrance, in a bathroom, in your kitchen, and I mean, it's just it's so amazing. So you can, make a bouquet, put it on a cocktail table. You can put it in your powder room. I just like sprigs of any kind of flowers. And again, right now, the lilies are blooming. Even fruit trees are blooming, and you can cut branches. There's a lot to do. So you don't want to put off projects. It's important to continue to upgrade your home. Now, the simplest thing, if you're really looking at an upgrade, it doesn't have to cost a fortune. And paint is probably one of the most cost-effective upgrades that you can do as a do-it-yourself friendly project. And just remember, it does increase the overall value of your home. Maybe you don't like your kitchen cabinets. Maybe it's time to put a couple coats of paint on them. You can transform your cabinets and the kitchen itself just by painting cabinets, and it can be very inexpensive. A real simple way to dress up your house, especially your cabinets, is if your hardware is beginning to look either, tacky or worn or maybe just dated, you can get new cabinet handles and swap out the old hardware in the kitchen or bathroom and put in some new knobs and handles. I think you'll like that a lot. Something that people overlook are light switch plates. Now, if I have a room that is painted a certain color, I don't want a fancy light switch plate. I just like to get a plain light switch plate and paint it so that it literally disappears. So you don't even see the plate. But if you have a kitchen or a room that maybe has accents like brass or bronze or copper, you can find really cool light switch plates that might kind of add to the decor. So just you can paint or swap yours and make them match or correspond with your surroundings. And the outside of your house too, when you think about what you need to do there, of course, painting a whole house is probably something for a professional, unless you have the time, because it really, our homes on the outside, they take a beating and they really need a lot of prep work. So you don't want to just put paint on them. You have to clean it and scrape it. And so that's probably more something for a professional to do. And that can cost more money. But if you just wanted to repaint your front door or maybe add new shutters or maybe window boxes, add some window boxes that are going to have flowers in them. Those are things that you can do on your own. Another really simple home upgrade, a lot of bathrooms just have, what do you call it? Just those the plain plate glass mirrors, and it doesn't look very elegant or anything. Well, if you want to elevate the mirror, you could add a decorative trim around it, and you wouldn't believe how quickly that can make a difference. Now, one of my best design tricks that I used in a lot of houses where there were small windows and the ceilings didn't seem so high. And so if you put a curtain or anything on the window, it just made the room seem small, is you could take a small window and hang drapes all the way to the ceiling and all the way to the floor and make them a little wider. And it gives the illusion of a larger window and it makes the room appear bigger as well. So that is a good way to enhance your home. A lot of people like to have shelves, to show their I don't know, their knickknacks or whatever. But when you do that, you want to make sure that collections are all together. Don't scatter things all over the house. If you have a collection of, I don't know, beer steins, let's say, make an area where you'll put your five or six or seven, and usually odd numbers are better, in one place so people can get a look at them. And floating shelves are both a simple and aesthetically pleasing solution. So those are just a few tips that can help you with an upgrade. So since we're getting close to spring, you can either start now or make a list and check it twice, and then you'll be all ready to do it when the warmer weather comes around. But you could do inside jobs right now. Well, you're listening to Cynthia Brian. This is Star Style. Be the star you are. We'll have a business bite, and then I'll be back and help you with staying warm this winter and also saving a little money. Don't go away. Are you passionate about your business? If not, why not? People who are using their passions to run their businesses are happier, they're more fun loving, they have less stress, and they're more excited about life. Do you know how to turn your passions into profits? Well, first of all, write down what you love to do in life, and don't worry if it seems crazy or impossible. Just dream the dream, then write the plan. Eliminate the naysayers in your life because you just need one honest, supportive person, but you have to have somebody that's on your side. Then go into action to get the skills you need. Believe in yourself and all the possibilities. If you are having fun, others will too. And with enough patience, courage, and perseverance, the profits will come rolling in. And you're going to feel alive because you have discovered your passion. Remember, you're the star of your own performance. Turn your passions into profits. I'm Cynthia Brian with another business bite from Starstyle. For more information, visit cynthiabrian.com. That's Brian with an I.com. We are back. I am Cynthia Brian. You're listening to Star Style, Be the Star You Are, coming to you on Voice America Media. This is the Empowerment Channel. And it is still winter, even though here where we are in California, it feels like spring. And I want to help you keep warm and save money. But before we talk about that, I just want to remind you that the Screen Actors Guild Awards, it's called the Actors Awards, is coming up soon, as well as the Academy Awards. And maybe you've been following it. You've probably seen the Grammys and maybe the Golden Globes and maybe Critics' Choice. But what are your favorite movies or TV shows of the year? I have been very busy as a voting member, watching everything and haven't voted yet, but am getting ready to. But it's interesting when I talk to other people to see what they really love. So, I'd love to hear from you to find out what are your favorite movies and what are your favorite TV shows. I just want to say that I think that there's so much violence in movies these days, and I am not a fan of horror movies or vampires or zombies or, all this blood and gore. And so many of these movies these days have that. So I'm hoping that Hollywood or whoever's going to make the movies will get away from some of that and tell more interesting stories that don't have that in it. Well, this is some things about staying warm and saving money because wintertime can really inundate your home with snow, ice, frigid winds, rain, depending on where you are and where you live. As I said, here it's really been beautiful during the day, but it is cold at night. It does get down what we call cold to mid 30s, or sometimes it gets up to 40, but usually mid 30s. So while your first move might be just to crank up the furnace, there might be some other cost-effective ways for you to keep the chilly conditions away. So I want to give you some simple, but I feel that they're impactful solutions that will keep you cozy all winter long or whenever you want to be warm. So the first thing you do want to do about your furnace, and this will save you money, is to check your furnace filters. They really do need to be replaced, maybe every 2 to 3 months or whatever the manufacturer advises, because if they get dirty or clogged, your furnace has to work harder to circulate air. And for whole home efficiency, you might want to get the opinion or a recommendation from a HVAC technician and maybe even get a cleaning for your air registers, your baseboard heaters, or your radiators. The same thing goes for your the ducts that are in your house. I make sure walk around your house and any vents that are coming up where the furnace would be sure that you don't have furniture or boxes on top of it because that will interfere with the heater's ability to distribute the warm air. And if you've redecorated or been working on, some of these house tips like I've been talking about, just walk room to room and ensure that nothing is blocking the flow of heat from any of them. Another really, really good tip is if you have a whole house heating system, uh, if you're going to just be in one room, you might want to close the doors to all the rooms and keep the doors closed so that just the room that you need heated can stay heated. Because if you have all your doors open and the heater is just going to be constantly, constantly going, trying to keep the heat on, but you might be able to heat one room and then just keep it that way. Now, a lot of people are installing smart thermostats because it equips, if you do it, it equips you to generate only as much heat as you need. And this could potentially lower your energy bill. Like you can set automatic schedules based on the time of day. And then it can make your room or your house warm when you're awake. And then while you're at work or gone, it'll reduce it. And again, when you're asleep, you should have plenty of blankets and, be cozy that way. So you don't need to have it warm. In fact, it's best if you sleep in a room that's like 60 to 62 degrees. So that is, just pile the blankets on. So by lowering the temperature setting for 8 hours daily, you can save at least 10% on your annual electric bills. Your water temperature is another thing. There's a chance your water heater is overworking if you're running your shower, dishwasher, or washing machine. The general solution is to set it at 120, but you could save money by turning appliances down maybe even 5 degrees. Now, chimneys, if you have a fireplace, and I'm going to talk more about fireplaces in just a second because I adore fireplaces. Using a fireplace is really, to me, the most wonderful way to get warm and cozy. But it also can allow heat to escape through the chimney. So when your fireplace is not in use, you want to prevent that air transfer. And if you have a fireplace that has doors, you can close those doors, and that is important to do. Or you can shut the flue when your fireplace isn't in use, but make sure you open the flue before you start a fire. Now, a lot of houses have drafts and they are pesky and they just seep from beneath your exterior or your basement door. There are something called door snakes. It might help put a stop to this. You can find these at retailers or hardware store. They're a weighted fabric tube And you can, or you can even make your own if you want. But for more permanence, you want to seal any gaps around the frames with weather stripping or with caulk. And I was talking about drapes before, and hanging heavier drapes or keeping curtains closed will keep the heat in. So if you have, you could have, if you're into it, you could have thicker drapes that are warmer, for winter, and more loose ones for summer, but that would keep the chilly outdoor out. And there are thermal options that will actually provide more insulation. But when it's sunny out, make sure you open all the windows, this especially the south-facing window drapes or curtains, because you want to invite that sunlight in. But then just make sure to close them at night. Now, layering in textiles is really the best way to keep you warm and cozy and in a lounging atmosphere. So if your rooms have cold hardwood or ceramic tile or laminate flooring, again, you could lay those rugs down, as I was talking about in the first one. That'll add a nice cushion. I like to wear really warm slippers and socks. You could have blankets and duvets or thicker clothing. All of that wards off the chill. And of course, you might want to just, cuddle up with your loved one. That is a really good one. But talking about fireplaces, I grew up on a farm in a 100-year-old farmhouse. We had no central heating. So the fireplace was our only source of warmth in the winter. And so we had the fire going 24 hours a day. And I remember when we would wake up in the morning, when we would run to the fireplace to warm our bottoms and just to get warm, going from the bed to the fireplace, it was cold. And so to me, having a fireplace just signifies warmth. And, for many, it just sets a real romantic ambiance. Many have enjoyed treasured gatherings with family or friends. And of course, that natural glow of a flame flickering safely in the hearth is just something that, I don't know, it's a heartwarming centerpiece that to me is irreplaceable. Now, there are different kinds of fireplaces and there are different rules in different states. So you need to find out. Like here in California, you cannot you can't build a wood burning fireplace anymore. You can buy a home that has one and it's grandfathered in. And that's what I have. And even in my office, which is an old office building, I have a fireplace and I use real wood in it. It was fabulous. I love the scent, the charm, the crackle, the sound, everything about it. It does necessitate firewood, but again, I'm on a farm. I have to cut the trees die. I cut them up. I let the wood dry for 3 years and then I can use it. And it's great. You do have to clean out the fireplace as the ashes pile up. You do have to have your chimney cleaned like once a year. And so those might be cons for some people. For me, I like it. There are other types of fireplaces. There are gas and electric ones, which are probably the most popular. But gas and electric are both really expensive. And of course, you don't get that same feeling of a wood burning fireplace. It doesn't give you that authentic flame, and it can provide heat though. Some of them are actually heaters that you could just turn on with a switch. If you've ever gone to a hotel that has a fireplace, a lot of them you just turn on a switch like a light switch. It heats it up and it heats your room, and it does give you some ambiance behind glass. But I would say if you're going to go electric, it would be good if you have solar panels because electricity can be expensive as well. And of course, there's ethanol ones. I don't know a lot about that. They do produce a smokeless flame because of the fuel type, but it generates less heat and it could be kind of pricey, and it could be less safe than gas and electric. But whatever you decide to choose, I mean, you can actually buy these plug-in fireplaces now that are just electric that look like a fireplace, especially if you're in an apartment. But you might want to talk to a fireplace contractor to go over the various options and models and finishing features, and that'll give you a better estimate of price and if it has to be installed, because it depends on how much you have to spend. But again, be mindful that some states have banned models such as ventless fireplaces because of air quality concerns. And to be safe, you always want to discuss any planned upgrade with a local zoning department before you decide on a structure because it could be illegal wherever you are. Well, that's our show for today. I thank you, as always, for joining me here on Star Style. Be the star you are. I really appreciate you being here every Wednesday with me, and we'll have a new show for you every single week. For more information about Be the Star You Are, visit bethestaryouare.org. And to buy any of my books or to find out more about Star Style Productions, visit cynthiabrian.com. That's Brian with an I. Until we celebrate once again next week, remember that love always wins, kindness always prevails, and smiles will keep us happy. I'm Cynthia Brian for Star Style. I'm thanking you and encouraging you to be kind, inclusive, tell the truth, live with integrity, embrace cultures, love unconditionally, encourage others, be generous, but most of all, be your unapologetically authentic self because everyone counts. And until we play next week, right here in my barnyard, remember to go out into the world and be the star you are. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll be together